Hello, everybody. Thank you for such nice comments that people are sending. That's so sweet. I'm in my kitchen because it is not as loud in here with the fish tank. The fish tank is so loud. This clock over here has never had a battery in it since I've lived here, and so it will always say it is that o'clock. So that's kind of like a little joke because I never tell people that, and they always like, why is it always 1:45 when you talk to us? So it will always be 1:45. So Monday was just a crazy day. I got up. I work from home most of the time, especially like now that COVID's kind of like coming in and coming out. When you work in a school, there's a lot of people, and so there's mask wearing and not mask wearing, and it kind of goes back and forth. So I work a lot from home, and I work from my kitchen, and I literally, like, my commute is like 7 seconds from where I sleep to where I sit for work. And I got up like 2 minutes till I start at 7. So I got up 2 minutes before 7. So I like rush out and like my day starts. And I just had a full day because I had taken some vacation last week. So I just had a whole lot of stuff to do today. And it was productive. It was a productive day, but I did not take time to do what I try to do every morning, which is pray and do a meditation and do some of my divination tools. So I had my day was like harried. I kind of felt off center. I felt like I wasn't, you know, like I just wasn't right. I wasn't not right, but like you have to be careful what you say because people will take it the wrong way. I was fine, but it just seemed like an off day because I knew that I hadn't set my intention for the day. I hadn't asked for God's white protective light. I hadn't done the things that I know that I need to do to have a really meaningful and productive day, filled with spirit and also wisdom and the things that I think are important. So, let that be a lesson to me. You can't skip out taking your medicine, right? Right now, I'm, for those of you who know me, I fell down a mountain and I fractured my heel and I had to wear a boot for 8 glorious weeks. It was 6, and then they added 2 more. It has prevented me from hiking this season. It has, except for one very brief hike with my friends so they could get engaged, which was super painful and probably not a good idea. So I haven't been able to hike in any parades. It's been so frustrating because, this is, the time I love to hike and this is my hiking time and I've been benched and it's miserable. And, so there's one last ditch effort to take. I try really hard not to take a whole lot of modern medicine, but I'm on a steroid pack so that we can try to prevent surgery on the foot. And I will find out Friday. I have an MRI and I will find out if they're going to go in and cut some things in my foot. So anyway, I have to take the medicine so that I don't have to have surgery. And so likewise, I need to do my spiritual things each day to make sure that I don't need surgery, spiritual surgery. So I thought, what a great way to talk about divination tools. So on my blog post, you can read all about this stuff. But this is, sort of, a video about what I use, right? And there are a lot of divination tools out there. There are all sorts of things that I have never heard of. And, I've heard of like the big ones, if you're a Rush fan, which I am, you've heard the song Roll the Bones, right? That's probably one of the oldest divination methods is rolling the bones. They're all different cultures use different kind of bones to foretell. Reading tea leaves, now reading coffee grounds. There's all different kinds of divination tools. I mean, I looked up, to see what they all were because I was pretty sure I didn't know most of them. And boy, I didn't know any of them, really. Like I thought I used a lot of stuff, but I know that I don't use even all the main secular stuff, that's kind of around and you've heard of. But there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, like clouds and tree bark reading and all kinds of stuff. So, do I think it's silly? No, I don't think it's silly. I mean, there are a lot of things I wouldn't do or use, but my theory is this, intention is 100%. It is. Intention is 100%. So if you're using any tool, I could use this box of tissues and, and count them and use the number to figure something out. And if my intention is to try to bring light and love and meaning into my life, then it's a good tool, but by itself, it's just a box of tissues. So, growing up in a religious tradition, a strict one, I was always told, like, this is the occult and this is witchcraft, and you can't be into herbs, and you can't be into, crystals, because, that's all new age, fandangled bullcrap, and you shouldn't do it, and it's the occult, and you're celebrating Satan, and blah, 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 blah. And it's all baloney, right? It's all baloney. Again, show me, where, rose quartz is, harnessing Satan. So, when I walked away from it, I was just like, I don't believe it. On their own, it's just a box of tissues. It's a rock. It's a pretty rock, but it's a rock, right? That on its own, it doesn't mean anything. You add the meaning to it. And so I think that any tool that you use to become closer to God, any tool that you use to open your heart to divine love is a good one. Box of tissues, pendulum, runestones, whatever you use. So, there's no, I look at some of them and I think, I wouldn't do that. No judgment. It doesn't matter if I like what a person does. It matters if they like what they do. And intention is, 100%. So, I've known many people who have had a mean heart, vindictive heart, who say the rosary faithfully. And I know people who, who don't believe in the rosary, and, aren't Christian. They're pagan. They have a good heart, and they read tarot with pure intention. So, it really just depends on your relationship with the tool and what you believe in. So for me, because I believe in God and because I believe in the angels and Jesus, I want my tools to connect me with my spirit guide and my spirits, my angels, Michael, my archangel, and God, Jesus and God and Mary. Like that's what I want them to do. I want them to help me to open my heart to whatever I need to be working on in my life. I want them to, with all my guides and all my support team, my support platoon in the spiritual world, I want to become a better person. So, you could use anything. So I thought I would take a quick minute to talk about the things that I use, and a little bit about the things I don't use, just because, I want to be honest about the things that I like and the things that I don't. So I do use religious tools. I'm going to talk about them separately from spiritual tools because they are different. My religious tools, just, for full disclosure, because I know a lot of my pagan and Wiccan friends and my religious Druid friends are, trust me, be a Christian Druid. The Christians don't like you. The Druids don't like you. Nobody likes you. It's okay. I'm okay with it. But so I do use religious tools, and I use the 1928 Book of Common Prayer, which is the Anglican prayer book, and another prayer book called the St. Augustine prayer book. I use that mostly during the Lenten season. I say the Rosary. I say the Jesus prayer. I say an abbreviated version of the Jesus prayer. Those of you who know me know I wear beads. These are all prayer beads. So, as my father lay dying, I couldn't muster anything up other than saying the word Jesus over and over and over again as I went around the bracelet. So, I use, I think I mentioned Rosary, but I didn't say the Rosary. I use an adapted Rosary, that I like. And, obviously prayer. And informal prayer, because like I said, you can talk right to God. You don't need a million things between you. So those are, King James Bible, that's the version that I use. I'm an English professor, so I like the fancy language. I enjoy reading that, so I use that. And sometimes I'll use a New King James if I'm not in the mood for heavy literature. I like the Psalms. I like, like I said, the Bible is full of good things, and good stories, good things, inspired things. I do think it's missing some things, but I have no idea. Only God knows. Anyway, so I do use religious tools. I do find great value in those tools. So the spiritual tools that I use that are separate from religious tools, I brought some of them here so they would be here because they happen to just be here because I was using them before. I do not read tarot. And this is something that I want to talk about. Tarot is a divination system that a lot of people find value in. No judgment for those who use it. I just don't use it. A lot of my spirituality is Celtic. Tarot is not Celtic. It's just not part of my tradition, and so I never got into it. I've been to tarot card readings. I've had tarot card readings. I don't think it's part of the occult. I don't think it's part of witchcraft. I don't think they're evil. I don't think it's bad. It's just not my tradition, and so I like the oracle cards better. The interesting thing about tarot, and I want to be clear that I know like nothing about tarot, is that it's a very old divination system, and you can pick up any tarot deck with any decoration, and they will all have, I think it's like 78 cards. Like the Queen of Cups or whatever the card is means the same thing no matter what the deck is. Now there might be some like added, information in the little booklet that they give you, but for the most part, if you're pulling up if you're pulling up the Queen of, Cups or whatever, that's going to be the Queen of Cups in any deck. So, I guess, as a tradition, that's really cool because it means you can read any deck of cards, and find meaning. I like oracle cards because they are meditative. So they don't, as a Celtic person, I don't, as in celebrating the Druid philosophy, I don't think we can predict the future, and I think tarot is a divination system that does try to not necessarily predict the future, but will tell you your future. I don't believe in fortune telling because I think we have free will, and so we do all these things. We use all these tools so that we can make ourselves better. So and I think that's the spirit of tarot, is that like this is your life, and if you don't do corrective action, this could be your life, or you're on the right track. And I don't know how it works, but it gets too far into like fortune telling for me. So I like oracle cards because they really just are things for you to think about. And so the oracle cards that I like the most, I have four oracle card packs, but the two that I use the most, I will say I use three the most, but the two that I've been using lately is a Celtic Spirit. I will say some of the stuff I don't completely buy, but I think the cards are interesting. They do make me think about like things to work on and things to be, to pay attention to in that particular day. I do different card readings. Usually I'll do a 1 pull, which is you pull one and like that's the thing you think about for the day. Or I'll do a 3 pull, and there's the 3 things together that you think about for the day or situation or whatever. And I also use Native American oracle cards, and these are actually my favorite. I find the most meaning in these because Native American spirituality is very similar to ancient Celtic spirituality. I like a lot of the same kind of stories, both nature-based practices. So I find a lot of wisdom in Native American materials. And so I also have Native American stones that I read, this stone medicine people, and that's very, very, very valuable. I usually do a 1 pull on those stones. And again, it's just things to think about during the day and things to pray about, things to, really sort of consider as my life is going on. The thing that people know me for, where are they, is I read runes. So I have 3 sets of runes. Right now I'm using these. I like them because the other, one set of runes is in one of my backpacks for backpacking, and I can't find it. So I got a second set, and I like them, but the stones are really different shapes. And so like the biggest stone in there is the Hagelas stone. If you know anything about runes, it's the Hellfire stone. It's a stone that says that you're going to have absolute chaos in your life. And it's the biggest stone, so you're kind of drawn to it because it is the biggest stone. So I feel like I can know which stones are which in that bag, and I don't like to do that. So I might use them for rune casting, which is when you kind of shake them up and throw them out on a mat. Excuse me. Every time I talk to you, I get dry-throated, and, I should probably bring a drink and have it near me. Anyway, these are rune stones, and they have little symbols on them. You can see a little symbol on there. And these are all kind of the same size, so, and they're in lapis lazuli, which is very drawn to it's a wisdom stone. I'm also drawn to tiger's eye. Again, I don't know a lot about crystals, and I don't know that I necessarily buy everything they say that crystals do, but I like them, so I have them. So runestones work the same as the oracle cards. They just help you think about things. I do a Celtic cross reading. I do a three pull, which has a fancy name, which I can't remember, something Nam or something like that. And I'll do a one pull. So interesting about Elder Futhark is the sets that I use are Elder Futhark. There's also a younger Futhark. But here's the thing. With a lot of Celtic things and a lot of Scandinavian things, a lot of ancient things, we don't know a lot about the original alphabet. So in the story, in the myth of it, or the reality, I have no idea, but I'm thinking it's a myth. Odin gave this alphabet as a gift to humans so they can communicate. But so many of we don't know the original names. Like, we've named all these stones, but they aren't the original names. Those are names like we've given them. We don't really know. So when people talk about rune stones, they're talking about one of two things. They're either talking about the little stones that come in the wee baggie, or they're talking about these amazingly gorgeous standing stones that have the symbols marked on them, and the different places that they find them in Ireland and throughout the world. So it's a beautiful language, but we're guessing at a lot of it. Like, same with, I think, hieroglyphics, right? We're like, we have interpreted it. We've named these stones. We've assigned the meanings to them. So, again, intention is 100%. So, Druids did not write things down. It was an oral tradition, very much like the Native American tradition. So, a Native American and Indigenous American experience. So, nothing really was written down. And then when things started to get written down, if you wanted to be a druid, like, if you wanted to be a healer or whatever you were going to be, a storyteller, you went through like 14 years of training, and it was all oral. But they did have like one place where there were things written down, and they wrote in Latin. And it's very interesting. If you ever have an opportunity to read about druids and druidry and the history of it, most of our history was lost because when Christian invaders came in, they burned what books existed. And so the only telling of the Druids is told by the people who conquered them. So there isn't good information out there. And so whenever you see like information about Druidry, it's our best guess based on the very limited resources that we have. And a lot of has been added over time. And I think, that's probably true in any tradition, right? But writing was a sacred act. So things did not get written down until when they were written in Latin. So everything was told from person to person to person, and the stories were passed down, and the storytelling tradition, and that was passed down generation to generation. And so a lot of that stuff is lost to us. So whatever you see sort of modern stuff is all, modern interpretation, and there are religious druids. I am not one of them. I'm a philosophical druid, which means that, so druidry is path-based spirituality. So, and it's completely nature-based. So you have your path, I have my path. My job is not to judge your path. My job is not to make your path harder. My job is to recognize your path. If I can help you in any way, and in a human way, through divine love, to be the best person that you can be, I should try to do that. That is the underpinning theme, and the Christian values of charity and hospitality that underpin why I let all the thru hikers stay in my house for free. People say, why do you do that? Why did you move to Palmerton so that you could live on the Appalachian Trail and let these strange, smelly people live in your yard and shower and do laundry? And it's because of Christian charity. And that's the path that I'm on, right? So, could I charge them? Could I open a hostel? Sure, I could do that. But I'm not in it for the money, right? I'm in it to be a light in this world, to show that not everything has a price tag, right? Charity does not, and spirituality and helping people on their journey through life, it's the greatest gift that I give myself, is being able to give to others. So so that's where it comes from. That's for those of you who wonder why I let all these strangers stay in my house. That's why, because we should help each other along the way. And, nature is the place where I derive the most spiritual presence, when I'm not injured and I can actually get out. So the divination tools that I use, runestones, oracle cards, and I do use a pendulum. And Dave laughs at me all the time, so I know you're going to laugh at me, and you can. This is a pendulum. And I will say, of all the things I've ever learned about in all the stuff that I, toy around with, like I said, I have a lot of gems, stones, or crystals, and they're really pretty. And I really want them to mean something, but I'm not convinced yet. I know what the chakras are. I do believe in the chakras. I do believe that you have a third eye and, a throat chakra. I think we do have energy through our body. And so that actually makes anatomical sense that we would, release, the flow of everything should be aligned. I actually believe that's probably true. I don't know how crystals play a role in it, but pendulums and, I think they're called dowsing rods or divining rods or whatever they're called. I think there's some value in them. And even if it's run by your self-conscious, I don't think it is, but even if it is, so far it hasn't given me wrong advice, and it doesn't predict things for you. It's not like you're like, am I ever going to win the lottery? And woohoo, yes I am. No, it's not like that. It's like, this is okay. This is like me. It's like confessions with BRG. I like to watch, I've been into watching YouTube videos of different things, and typically what I do is, like, I find, like, on the sidebar it has all the recommendations of, I want to watch all these things. So I open them in a new tab, and then I go one by one through them, and I ask my spirit guide, should I watch this? And my spirit guide will say, at first I always, I always welcome my spirit guide and ask if it's an okay time to communicate. And then I ask it to show me what yes looks like. And then once I have that down, then I will, then I'll bring up a video and I say, should I watch this? And Spirit tells me yes or no. And I literally click off of it if I'm not supposed to watch it, because I really want to be watching the things that are more edifying, and actually, like, bring some sort of new perspective or wisdom or whatever. But when my friend introduced me to the pendulum last weekend at our spiritual retreat, we had a girls' retreat, which was just amazing. We had rented an Airbnb because I couldn't hike. I was supposed to hike, and I couldn't hike because of my heel. So I'm like, well, let's go get an Airbnb, like, do a girls' weekend. And so we had common areas in the house where when we were in those spaces, we could talk and share and communicate, but we each had a separate part of the house or a separate part of the property where if we were in those spaces, we weren't to be disturbed by the other, sort of relying on a silent retreat concept that came out of my Anglican convent experiences, which I really loved. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm quite a talker. But there are times, and I'm a teacher. I've always been a teacher. And so sometimes I need to recharge. And when people are expecting you to be the teacher all the time, or to be the talker, the communicator, sort of the let's get everybody together and figure out something fun to do person, you get no peace and quiet for yourself. And so I've always found, at least at the Anglican convent, that the silent retreats were always so valuable to me because I didn't have to talk. I didn't have to. People say, why do you play the bagpipes? You know what people can't do while you're playing bagpipes? They can't talk to you. It's great. You just blow them up and but they can talk all they want. You don't hear them. I just sometimes I am an extrovert, but I'm also very much an introvert. I do like my alone time. I like to be alone. I'm not a big sleeper, so I don't sleep a whole lot. So I find a lot of time in the middle of the night when it's quiet and I can do my own thing. I like the silent retreats for that reason. They give you time to be quiet. And we had this really great just this great experience at the it turned into what was really making me sad because I couldn't hike into a real positive. But anyway, the point of this was to tell you that my friend introduced me to pendulums, and as she was doing it, I'm thinking, what a load of crap. That's a bunch of baloney. That doesn't work. Like that's like witch hunters or whatever they show on TV. Like that's not a real thing. And one of them came free in some crystals that I bought. And I'm like, all right, let me try this. Like she didn't look like she was moving her hand, but I'm like, she's moving her hand. There's something in there that's moving it. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to like glue my arm to the side and I'm going to try this. And honest to goodness, it works. Like it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works, but it works. And, maybe it is your subconscious mind or your higher level mind communicating. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I think it is my spirit guide helping me because that's who I'm talking to when I'm using it. You don't ask it things like, am I going to hit the lottery? Or, am I married to my true love or whatever? Because honestly, it won't answer you either way. It won't move. Like, I think that's the more surprising thing is it doesn't move. When you ask it something it can't answer, it doesn't give you an answer. It doesn't give you a wrong answer, but you have to, like there are things you can ask and things you can't. So I don't believe in predicting the future. So I don't ask it things about my more immediate future than should I watch this, particular video. When I do my studies for the day, I will put this over and say, should I use this tool today? And they'll tell me yes or no. Which is good because otherwise I'd use all my tools every day and, I'd never do other things other than work and read oracle cards all day. So, I do smudge, which is, if you aren't familiar, it's, I use white sage and you like chip it up and then you burn it and you go through your house to try to disperse negative energy. Sometimes I can't do that. So, if I'm in space where it doesn't allow smoke, I use a Tibetan singing bowl because it raises the vibration and clears out the negative energy. So I do those things. Did I miss anything? Oracle cards, rune stones, Native American stones. I think that's everything. It's everything that I use. I don't use tarot. I don't know that crystals or oils or candles or any of those things actually do anything. I think they really more create a space for you. That I do listen to mostly Native American flute music. I listen to that throughout the workday while I'm working, and that does bring me peace and calm if I can't be outside. So I do like that. Highland bagpipes are very loud, so I do like bagpipe music, but that's more of like, even sad songs, it's like, it's just, they're loud, so they don't, they're not sort of ambient. So, but creating a space for yourself to do the work that you need to do spiritually, I think is important. And so things like crystals, things like candles, things like incense, those add to the environment to, help you create a peaceful space. So, and again, the intention is 100%. So if we're focusing on God and focusing on divine love, then we want to use the tools that will help us, to be in a place where we can think about how to be vessels for divine love. So that's my spiel for tonight. I hope you are well. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you all soon. Be well.